I have to say it once again. I absolutely love the fact that dandadan has zero filters. That you can have a character literally turn into a Chinubio, become a follower of the ball of Okarun. She's literally worshiping the ball of Okarun. She's literally holding it like it's some sort of sign of spiritual guidance. And it's Okarun's ball. I love later on that have Ayase is basically like, stop praising his family jewels, dude. His family what the hell are you doing? It's just, it's crazy. This entire series is absolutely crazy, and I love it. And it's casual. It's like it's not even trying. It's just a casual, messed up kind of thing. Like, makes sense. I mean, this is a thing that's a bearer of life, thus it's going to have a lot of spiritual energy. And then yes, a lot of things are going to be after it. A lot of these spirits are going to be after it. And then yes, if it can bestow upon somebody spiritual powers, then yeah, they're probably going to think that it's some sort of sign, some sort of signal that they're blessed for something. Like, Aira's whole thing here makes sense. If she grabbed this thing and suddenly she can see spiritual things, she's going to think it's something of a guidance. And again, in Ayase's mind, it's like, stop pressing that against my cheek. There was so many inappropriate shots of this episode. It's just way too funny. Like that whole after shot showing when she first gets the ball and she literally puts it in her pocket. It cuts the next shot. Nice little transition there, by the way. I love that animation of going in the pocket. The next shot's literally her rubbing it in her pocket. And I'm like, that's intentional. That was totally intentional. But I even went and checked the manga. I'm like, yep, that was added. Like they totally heard. Well, I mean, there's a couple shots in the manga where she's putting her hand on it, but it's like that smooth motion around the pocket. I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys know what you're doing. You guys totally know what you're doing. It's crazy. I freaking love it. I love every single minute of it. I'm just... Such a good episode. Anyways, episode 6 of dandadan. Let's just go through it. I think the beginning parts of this episode is really kind of centered around Okarun apparently finally discovers Ayase's cute. Which, again, makes sense. This is like the innocence of him. Somebody that's never had friends and suddenly has a chance at having a friend. And, yeah, he just seemingly never notices that, oh, yeah, attractiveness. Like, okay, is she a love interest? He hasn't been looking for that. He's been looking for a friend. And he's finally got a friend. And suddenly these guys are like, hey, you going out with Ayase? Yeah, she's super cute. Wait, she's cute? Yeah. Okarun has finally discovered that Ayase apparently is really, really cute. Shocker there. That's a big realization right there. But no, that kind of turns into literally him avoiding her over and over again, which is absolutely bugging her. But at the same time, it does seem like Ayase is sort of getting a hint that she likes Okarun. And that's mainly through the idea of, yeah, he's avoiding her all the time. But additionally having Muko over here saying, hey, look, apparently he's getting mad at people for making rumors about you. Like, there's people making really nasty rumors, and he's fighting these dudes. So he seems like a cool dude. Like, you aren't going out with him. He seems like a cool dude. So it's kind of cute there. Just the seemingly realization kind of stepping it from the friendships into possibly relationship. And I'm assuming they're going to kind of follow through with it. A better love story than Twilight. I think the thing that's more cute about the whole situation is that I do kind of see Okarun's side of this whole thing. I do see the idea of him being very oblivious to what's in front of him. I mean, I guess that sort of plays off when he was over at her place. The idea that they have this little conversation at some point, he's like, ugly. Like, he just kind of just sees her as a person that he's hanging out with. He's not seeing her actual looks. Because, yeah, I don't see him calling her ugly when she's obviously not ugly. She's a very beautiful woman. And so, yes, it kind of shows even back there that he's not seeing that outside, which is, let's face it, very, very pure. And the idea that he's not seeing what she looks like. He's just seeing Ayase. He's seeing an ugly person as to how she's treating him, not necessarily ugly that she looks ugly, because he was never looking at it. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. Now, yes, you could beg the question, how could anybody not see how she looks? How can anybody not see how she looks? But again, to the pure nature of Okarun, just wanting to know somebody. And yes, to the idea that he rarely looks up. He's rarely looking up. But yeah, him fighting the dudes. That was interesting. I'm assuming that people don't really necessarily see his spiritual look, which makes sense. Like, if when he's transforming, it's not that people see him in that form, that people just see Okarun. Whereas if Ayase was in there and she can see spiritual things, she would see his new form. Or Aira. If Aira was there, she would probably see his actual spiritual form. Whenever he's transforming and turning into Turbo Granny, everybody else probably doesn't see that weird, depressed-looking version of him. They probably just see Okarun standing there, and he just has a lot of strength. So that's why my assumption there. I'm not sure if they're going to confirm that, but I would think that if he did actually transform, those dudes would be out of the room. Everybody would be out of that room. Like, what the hell, getting out of here? So again, my assumption is that they're not seeing that, which kind of curious why they didn't show that. They even showed a first-person perspective of the guy looking up at Okarun, and Okarun was changed. So I don't know what they're doing there. If they're not going to really show that difference there, or if it's just going to be something where I don't know why everybody just was like, shrug. He just transformed into something. Oh, well. Anyways, that aside, pretty sure the guys won't mess with them anymore. It might actually turn into something where nobody bullies him anymore because they're afraid of him, but at the same time, it's not something that he's doing intentionally because he just wants to protect Ayase. He doesn't care if he's bullied. I mean, the previous episode had him literally going, I don't care what you guys do to me. I have a friend. I don't care. I'm happy. I have a friend. But yeah, additionally, they have Turbo Granny there to help them try to find the ball. And yeah, she's trying to take it over from him. Okarun is avoiding Ayase. She's getting frustrated. Eventually, they start talking about Aira, or at least they imply the idea that somebody here might have the ball. Somebody might have found it, grabbed it, and that's dangerous because they can see spiritual energy now. Which, yes, gets into Aira, our bully character, our nasty bully girl. I don't know. I started getting closer to neutral with this girl in this episode. Yeah, obviously with the previous episode, don't like her. She's a bully. And even in this episode, opening up with her introduction, saying basically, I'm so pretty, but I'm a really kind person because I feed into the lowly people by greeting them and making them like me. She's nasty. She's obviously nasty. She's full of herself. She thinks that she's so beautiful that everybody should love her and that's her gift to mankind. Whatever. But I started getting a little neutral with her in this episode because she does seem kind of there's almost a like in the idea of how stupid she is. There's almost a like in how stupid she is, and it's obviously showing how she's going to get pulled into the group just based on the idea of being able to see spiritual powers. She's going to get caught up in all this stuff. Question mark I have is I would assume they're going to get the ball back from her. Like after this whole situation, they're probably going to get it back from her, but will she retain her ability to see spirit stuff, and that could be the way they can kind of rope her into stuff going forward. Or maybe she'll just be a side character going forward. But yeah, her getting kind of roped in this whole situation because yes, while they were fighting Turbo Granny on the train, she caught one of them. Or at least it caught her on the head. And she immediately likes it. She grabs it. She's able to see all this stuff kind of flowing down. She thinks this is a sign. This is some kind of divine sign that I am supposed to stop evil things. And yes, Ayase's fault, by the way. Well, I mean, I like that she did it. But Ayase's fault that she's waving at Aira after dropping the bucket on her head as a way of kind of teasing at her. And that's when Ayase sees it. She would have never seen it if she wasn't flaunting it at her as they walked away. But yeah, she's seen this demonic wing and so says she needs to stop Ayase. And that Ayase is sending somebody to watch her, which is the Acrobatic Silky thing. And so she's like building up this massive arsenal while also constantly on a regular basis gazing at Okarun's ball. Constantly looking at Okarun's ball and how this is this thing, that this is some divine sign that I have to answer to get rid of this wicked power from Ayase. It's so dumb. And again, her rolling it in her pocket. So wrong. All this is so wrong, but I love it so much. She's getting her lackey to get a bunch of stuff so she can exercise it, and eventually she confronts Ayase. Which, by the way, when they confront Ayase in the warehouse, those two girls, the two lackeys, she literally chucks them into a bunch of metal beams. It looked like metal beams. It could have been pallets or something like that. But still, like that impact, those girls are dead. I'm sorry. And there's a side of me that almost thinks like they deserve it because they're bullies. But I don't think we've ever really seen them being bullies. I mean, they went with Aira there to capture Ayase, and they were going to capture her. But nothing has happened yet, so I don't really want to call them bully girls. But they are hanging around with a really nasty girl. I don't know. I feel bad for them because I haven't seen them actually do anything bad. And for them to get like literally pulverized in a bunch of stuff out of nowhere, they dead. I'm sorry, they dead. I mean, I've had times where Ayase has gone through some really crazy stuff and she survived. But I always kind of assumed it's because she's using her spiritual powers to block herself. Like with the sumo alien thing. When it was punching her into a wall, I assumed that she had her spirit power making sure that she isn't completely crushed. But these girls dead. Those girls are dead. I'm sorry, they're dead. I mean, they even show like a lot of the stuff they fell on is all impacted in. Anyways, yeah, this little spot with Aira and Ayase was just way too fantastic. She's like holding her down, saying that she's gonna exercise her, brings out this ball, and Ayase's like, hey, that's Okarun. It's his family jewels. And she's like, no, how dare you call it something so vulgar? This is a divine thing, and just shove it into her face. I'm like, this is so wrong. Everything about this scene is so wrong. And again, it's so casually inappropriate that I love it. I love it for that fact that this girl thinks this thing is some sort of being from God and that she has to use it. And it's just way too inappropriate. Didn't realize that they were kind of implying the idea that that's only one of them. I think when I was watching the show, I assumed that might have been both. But when I went and checked the scenes in the manga, it implies, or it's very specific, that this is one of two. That there's going to be two of these, I guess, if he has two balls. I think they were pretty clear that there's two of them. They've been plural with it, so I assume there's two of them. But no, that's when Okarun shows up and it notifies them about the acrobatic silky thing. The thing shows up, grabs Aira. We get a sense that Aira at some point noticed this spirit, but I guess later on never seen her again. Like when she was very young, she, I guess, got lost and thought that a spirit was her mom and grabbed the skirt and called her mommy. And this thing has been obsessed with her ever since then. Call me mommy, call me mommy. It's kind of one of those types of spirits. Once you acknowledge it, it wants you to keep acknowledging it and be with it and only it, or it wants to consume you. So apparently she's never seen it ever since, but now she's able to see it again because she's got this, she's got Okarun's balls. Got Okarun's ball in her hand, so she's able to see it finally. And she doesn't know what the thing is, so she denies it. So it eats her. It wants to eat her anyways. But yeah, that was an okay thing. Based on the preview of the next episode, it looks like they're going to get into it more, which I assume is going to be the case because with Turbo Granny, it didn't just end with, there's an evil Turbo Granny, let's beat it up. Haha, we beat the Turbo Granny. It's going to get into a story. I think this is kind of confirmation that each one of these stories is probably going to have some sort of backstory to it. Well, I guess the sumo planet thing and the Serpo's got plenty of story. So I'm assuming they're going to get more into it. But yeah, Okarun is useless as always. Once again, another fight. Okarun's useless. I don't know. He might do something in the next episode, but the moment he shows up, dashes past once, gets eaten. Thank you, Okarun. Thanks for showing up. Bye. Have a nice day. No, Ayase has to, as always, beat this thing up. But no, I like how Ayase gets knocked away because she can't control her powers because she's got her hand bind, which she's doing really good with, just her hands bound. But Turbo Granny comes out of nowhere, busts out Muko's phone, and starts looking up on the internet Acrobatic Silky. It's like, Ayase's like, what the hell? Why did you steal that from her? And she's just like sitting there looking up on the internet to try to find out information about spiritual beings because anything that's lowly to her, she never knows anything about. So why would I have information on such a lowly beast? It's so dorky. But no, cool here because, yes, Ayase fights it, gets captured very quickly, gets consumed after it wants to call her mommy, wants her to call it mommy. And then, yes, right afterwards, Turbo Granny confronts the thing. Spit them out. I'll forgive you if you spit them out. Don't speak inappropriately to your elders. Like, this is like one of those moments where Turbo Granny's come up there and saying, you better back off. I'm much more powerful than you. I'm much more older than you. Back off. Now, granted, yes, Turbo Granny right here does not have any power, but she does have a power. It's implying here that because Turbo Granny possessed this beckoning cat, which is a common thing. It's this little kind of statue that beckons good fortune and whatnot. They put it in stores and whatnot in Japan. Because she is inside of this cat, she's able to create its effect. That it has its effect to create fortune. And so yes, with Ayase in there, it just so happens the thing ate its own hair. And yes, before it ate the lighter, so it's creating a good fortune for them. So my assumption here is that going forward with a lot of these fights, they're probably going to have Turbo Granny with them, and Turbo Granny is going to be producing some sort of good fortune for them. If that turns out to be the case, I'm not sure. It kind of gives me the same feeling as something like Undead Unluck. And the idea that with that show, whenever the girl was present or touched something, she created misfortune. And I think that's probably what they're going to do here is that she's going to be present in creating good fortune. So just happenstance will happen as good fortune, which I think is kind of a cool little mechanic. If it's actually true, she could just be bluffing there, that she's not actually doing that. It's just, yeah, I was just joking. I was trying to keep it busy, or I was trying to let you know that something was going to happen. But anyways, thing gets set on fire, spits him out, and round 2. Going into the next episode, we'll go into round 2, but we'll see where that goes. But really good stuff there. Really, really good stuff here. Just a really fun, goofy episode. It was some good little stuff in there with Okarun and Ayase, or at least Okarun discovering that Ayase's cute, and that might actually turn into something where he has feelings for her going forward. If she's going to accept those feelings, I'm pretty sure. I mean, she seems like she's doki doki all the time. The previous episode, it was more her side of the situation and having feelings, whereas Okarun was still a little bit oblivious. And now in this episode, it looks like he's starting to become not oblivious, having a realization here, while at the same time, Ayase is kind of just trying to figure out what's going on with him. But no, obviously the star of this episode is definitely Okarun's ball and Aira. Okarun's ball and Aira was way too freaking funny. I loved it. I love it. Anyhow, that's my thoughts on episode 6. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, hit the like button down below. Thank you so much for dropping by, and y'all take care.